What's up, Driven to Win Nation? Chaz Wolfe here. I'm your host and serial entrepreneur. I've got Eric Cogorno here on the stage today. This is a golf coach and entrepreneur with a huge audience, and we go in depth. In fact, we talk step by step on how to take your dreams and turn them into reality, as well as using social media to build your brand. Grab your pens. Let's dive in. Just appreciate your time, man. You've got quite a bit of a story here, kind of a two versions, sports or golf and business and how those things have come together. I've never asked this question before, but how would you describe you if you were introducing you?
Yeah. So I guess at the most basic level, I've been a golf coach for like 15 years, which I still do. I would say like golf coach, we definitely try and lean into the YouTube social media. I don't know if I'm a YouTuber, but we definitely lean into YouTube. And maybe like an online golf coach is, I guess, really what I would be.
Yeah. I probably would have said something similar, but I kind of wanted to hear what you had to say. I've never interviewed a golf coach, and so this is my first. And I will tell you, the only real golf experience I have is I've got a good buddy of mine who is a pretty good golfer, and he waited until I was probably, 24-ish, maybe 25, before he was like, all right, let's go. He just didn't think I had any patience, wouldn't appreciate the game,
Yeah.
And so we got some clubs fitted for me. I'm 6'5", and so I had to have some clubs fitted for me. And the first year I shot, in the 90s. I'm an athlete, no big deal. And but the second year is what got me, because I knew that I needed your help, and I wasn't willing yet to take the time to do so. And that second year, I was about halfway through, and it's like, you know what? Nope. Because I was overthinking it. It was no longer fun. It was left and right, and I couldn't get it to go where I wanted it to go. Not that I could really the first time. I just was, naive. I was just the first round, So anyway, you probably experience a lot of me in your line of work.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and dude, it's a lot like you do. We can go into this. It's like, I know with what you do with the mastermind and stuff. It's like, getting coaching and getting aligned like early in the process, especially with golf. It's so darn hard, man. It's increase the odds. But yeah, 90 right off the bat, dude, that is an athlete. That's pretty damn good.
I didn't really know. You could have told me it was terrible. You could have told me it was amazing. I didn't know. And he just was filling my ego a little bit. He wanted me to keep playing,
Yeah, exactly.
And all that really came down to was that I did keep playing until I started to actually think I was kind of good. To the ego, that moment where it tips over a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And golf, from not only what I've experienced, but what I've heard, is that it is the sport, not just a sport. It is the sport that can bring you right back to a place of humility. Would you agree?
Oh, dude. Oh, man. I've been doing, coaching golf and playing golf for like 20 years, man. And like, I guess golf as is life. As soon as you feel like you got things, you got it figured out, dialed in, like, man, I'm real good at this. And you get a nice smack in the face, kind of back to reality. And yes, certainly that's the case with golf. There's no doubt about that.
What do you see? I mean, as a coach, I'm super curious, but what do you see as maybe the hindrance or the unlock, for people? Maybe the audience right now, they're business owners, but maybe they've wanted to up level their game in golf. So I'm going to go golf on you for a second, but what's the one thing that holds most people back?
Yeah. Golf specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like lack of clarity of plan. So most people that I work with, again, as is golf with life, aren't able to identify the things that are causing their issues. I'd say that's at least half. They maybe think they know what's causing the issue, but are incorrectly identifying the root cause.
Sure.
So like that would be number one. And then let's assume they kind of figure out what they're supposed to do. Having a clear path to be able to get there would be the second way. So, hey, I kind of know what's causing me issues, but I'm not quite sure how to solve that. That'd be probably number two. And then the third one is like, I know what's causing me issues. I've got a clear plan how to solve it. Like, I know if I want to get in good shape, I've got to work out and eat good. Very clear, right? I know the solution, but I'm just not willing to do the work to be able to get there. And so, getting good at golf is, it's like a frequency over duration thing. Like, you don't need to do 10 hours per day, but you got to do like 10 days in a row, right? You got to do like day after day after day after day. And so usually those are one of the three things I see hold people back.
Dude, I didn't know that was going to be your answer, but first off, great answer. But all I could hear was business strategy, consistency, persistence, like all the success principles coming to my mind. For you, just kind of using that same answer that you just gave to me, but how are those things that you just said applied specifically to building your online coaching business or being a YouTuber, as you say?
Yeah, man, it's weird thinking to myself is that, I think it's a lot of the same things, right? It's like the principles that have led to success building social medias that have led to success for us at a small scale, taking my in-person coaching to online have been the same things, which is like, what do I need to do? Like, what's the path? Getting clear on that. How do I get there? What are the steps along the way? And then like being willing to continue to put one foot in front of the other, regardless of short-term immediate results, to get to that long-term clarity of vision. I would say, Chaz, for me, man, like getting clear on where I wanted to go. My life sort of has had two phases. There was like phase one, Eric, golf coach in person, was having some success, made more money than I spent, but no real like clarity or vision for what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Loose goals, but no real clarity. And then there's the second phase of my life, which is once I got clarity, I got introduced to a guy named Jim Rohn who like totally changed my life from afar. And when I had that clarity, man, for me, totally changed things, gave me the ability to set a course in a specific direction. And the other thing that I didn't anticipate was having a lot of clarity for me, which I think is one of my strengths of where I want to go, enables me to get through the shit along the way. So like those bad days, everything I've done has taken longer than I thought it was gonna. It's been typically more difficult than I thought. And when I didn't have clarity with where I was going, when I would like face a wall or have struggle, long answer, but I think this shit's important. When I would have struggle, I would stop, right? Or kind of pivot in another direction. And so I think the things that have led to success and that number one thing of like, what am I trying to do and having a lot of clarity makes the second and the third thing a lot easier.
For sure. I think that when I think of what my answer could have been or something similar, I immediately go to Think and Grow Rich because it talks about desire. I've got to know what I want or where I want to go. And then I've got to be able to create an organized plan around it. And then he talks about the emotion of faith, but I got to go take action. It's belief and faith together, which is faith. And so everything that you just described from a golf perspective it came out of a success book. Go figure, right? I know that you're huge in personal development as well as just, obviously helping people with their golf game. What do you think for you, like just thinking about success principles in general or personal development, kind of your obsession about that, how has that played into one, being a successful business owner, or two, just a successful golfer, just the technique of the game?
Yeah, so I sort of mentioned it there before, but like I should probably mention it 100 times when we talk, which is like I can't emphasize enough how much when I got introduced to Jim Rohn. So like short story with that, I was at a point in my career, Chaz, where like I was kind of burnt out with my in-person coaching. I had built it from zero to like 80, 90 grand a year, which for me was great, right? And like I kind of got stalled out at that level. And I had a couple of things happen to me all at the same time when I felt that burnout that led to us doing the online stuff.
Yeah.
But it started with my friend sent me this video of Tony Robbins. And I'll never forget, I was like in the bathroom doing my hair, getting ready to go out on a Friday night. And I got this message from my buddy, and it was a Tony Robbins video. And I clicked on it and listened to it. And for whatever reason, it like didn't hit me. I don't know if I wasn't ready to hear it or just whatever. I just kind of didn't hit me. But right next to it in that little recommended thing was a Jim Rohn video. And it was a 2-hour seminar he gave that I probably have since listened to 1 to 3 times a week for the past like 8 years. Like wow. I still get stuff from it, dude. Just everything he says just like hits me right in the heart. It's just so logical and good. And so when I listened to that video, dude, the second video from there was that goal setting workshop. And I went through with like a legal pad, right? Like one of these, and followed it to a T, what he went over. So I took action, right, with his advice. And I kept doing that goal setting workshop. And when I went from, that 80, 90 grand a year stuck to like the first time I really allowed my brain to like think beyond what was in front of me. Like until I went through that exercise and did that dream life, man, I didn't even like fathom or comprehend what my life could be after that. Yeah. But when I started to write that down and go through like what I wanted my dream life to look like and started to do the math on it, it's the first time I thought like, wait a minute, that's, that could be doable. Like, I could actually probably do some of these things. And so I'll bring that up a couple times probably, but like that for me, that number one thing of the clarity of vision had not only set me on the right course, but has pulled me along the way, man, pulled me along the way through the inevitable ups and downs of it. So I credit that to figuring out the steps along the way, right? Because I've got a general idea of where we're going, but you figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
And then I also credit that with like, man, the days where everything goes wrong, I just have such clear long-term where I want to go that it just pulls me through that short-term shit.
Yeah. I love the description that you gave there around, I had a clear vision, but like we figured it out along the way. And someone might be listening right now, and I've talked to many entrepreneurs who get real, almost literal when it comes to this. And they're like, well, wait a second, if I'm figuring out along the way, how do I have a clear, like these two don't go together. And I actually think you did a great job there of describing that. You have to know long-term what it looks like, feels like, smells like, all the emotions. And then kind of like how you get there is like what you're saying, you just get pulled to it. And that might look a little different than anticipated. I'm going to create some indicators along the way to know, hey, I know I'm winning because along the way, this happened and this happened. And I can kind of see some things along the way that should be happening if I'm going to get to this long-term place. But generally, the individual route might change from month to month or year to year, but generally it's same direction, right? Would you agree with this?
I love that, dude. I think the clarity of the vision is getting clear on where you're going.
Yeah.
Not how you're getting there.
Yeah, that's good. You said one thing real quick there as you were listening to that video of Jim Rohn, that you sat down and you did exactly what he said. And you said it so simply. High logic, I can already tell the way that your brain works. I heard it. It made sense. I did it. Exactly how he said to do it. That is not how most people experience a video like that. In fact, I would say most entrepreneurs are like, okay, you said to do it 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm going to do it 4, 3, 2, 1, or I'm going to do it 1, 3, 4, 2. Why we do this, I don't know. Why do you think you took it exactly how he said it and then implemented it?
I think part of that was that I was in a spot where I was ready to do it. I think the timing was nice. Like I felt burnt out at that exact moment. And I felt like I needed to do something different. So I think that's part of it, man. I think the timing and me really feeling at that point, like had I heard that 2 years earlier, would I have done that not feeling burnt out? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I think that's part of it. I was in enough pain that I was motivated to like act. And then I think the second thing, I'm not afraid to do work and like sit down and put my head down and like get shit done. And I've had that my whole life. I've had that my whole life. So I think that's part of it. But I think part of it, man, was just the timing of the pain. Like, I don't know if I didn't have enough pain that I would have sat down and done that. And just one last point on that. It's like, man, I wrote that dream life thing down, right? I literally from then, like every Sunday, I spend 30 minutes for 8 years redoing that. Like I do it every week. I re-clarify what that is. And then every day as part of my, morning meditation stuff that I do, I'll spend 10, 15 minutes, like you mentioned. I love the way you said that, really visualizing me being where I'm going, the smell of it, what it feels like, what I hear, what I see. And I think putting it on paper gave me that bigger thought process, but it's been that day after day, like continuing to do it part and the continuing to re-clarify. Like I find for me, man, I need to like be reminded all the time. Like I need it top of mind. You know what I mean? It's easy for me to get distracted. Totally. And so that little daily practice, that little weekly practice, I think kind of took things to the next level.
I do the same similar practice in the mornings, and I'm not big on material things, although everybody likes nice things. But I have one material thing on my vision board that I sit with. Literally, I can't quite yet, but in my mind, I open the door and I crawl in to this brand new white, red leather Rolls-Royce Cullinan, and I can feel the sleek leather. I can smell the newness of the vehicle because I'm the only person that's ever sat in it. Give me an example of one of those things for you that you're seeing for your future.
Yeah, good timing, dude. I just bought a Range Rover. So I've been visualizing myself in a Range Rover for, 7 years. the exact color, pretty much the exact model. And I would feel the same thing where I'm like, this is just me like 2 weeks ago. So I would visualize myself sitting in there. I'd feel the leather on the seat. I feel and see the steering wheel. I see me driving to the gym in the morning. I see me driving home from the gym. Like I visualize that daily, for like 7 years, and I just got it. And I think like a lot of these things, I don't really care about the Range Rover. Like I don't really care about it, actually. I care about the fact that I set an intention and then I made it become reality. Like the confidence that I got from just achieving the task, it doesn't matter what the car was. That's the juice. It's like, holy shit, man. Like I thought, I grew up with $0. Like I had no money not that long ago. So for me, some of the stuff that's coming to reality that I thought about, like when I first thought about making $1 million a year, I had maybe $4,000 in savings at that point. That might have well been like 10 billion. Like that was so far away from me. And so I think the whole point of that is like, to your point, it's not the material stuff. I don't care about material stuff either. It's the juice you get from like realizing that you could create a reality from nothing, given that you do the 1,000 things along the way, to get to the position to be able to get it.
Do you think it comes natural to you to be able to see that vision and then reverse engineer? Or is it easier for you to see the vision and then it's harder to reverse engineer?
I think it's easy for me to see the vision and reverse engineer, but I also I'm not sure exactly why, but I'm very capable of setting really long-term zoomed out macro things and then being very comfortable kind of figuring things out and not getting overly concerned about the 30, 60, 90-day results from it. I like what you said before. I'll set things along the way that tell me that I'm succeeding. I'm moving along the right direction. But I'm comfortable setting 10-year, 20-year things and knowing I'm like, man, I'm 6 months into 20 years. Like we're so early in the process. Everything now doesn't even matter. It's all just kind of me learning to get to the next level. So yeah, for me, man, that works. What works is setting the long-term things and then reverse engineering along the way. And maybe, I'm making up a number here, but like maybe 20% of things, to your point, have like kind of gone along the way that I thought they would. And 80% of the time, like there's been pivots. Oh, like this worked. I didn't think we were going to do this. I didn't anticipate this. This didn't work like I thought it was going to. So I kind of net get to the same end goals, but I usually get there in different ways than I anticipated.
Yeah, for sure. I can remember a goal that we set with Gathering the Kings pretty much right when we launched. It was maybe just a couple months afterwards. And it was just this huge, ginormous, like maybe one day type of a goal. And we've got different membership tiers. And of course, my analytical brain tries to break down like, okay, well, there'll be this many of this and this many of that. And I had to stop myself based on what you're just saying and go, actually, you know what? That's where we're going. I don't know exactly what that's going to be made up of, but that's where we're going. And let's just kind of let this thing happen, along the way. And I think that there is a really unique skill set that you've described here that entrepreneurs would find value in holding on to or adapting, because I think it's one or the other typically for them. It's, I can see the goal and then I'm like, that's what it has to be. I have to have the Rolls Royce today. So, well, wait a second. You envisioned that Range Rover for 7 years. Like there's some time here. And even though we're going to stick to the exact same thing, that's fine. And then there's others who have a problem reverse engineering it. And so there's that huge gap for them that they can't, they're not winning. It's like, well, wait a second, we got to create some indicators along the way because we got to be winning. We got to win every day, baby. Otherwise it doesn't work. I want to transition here just a little bit. We've joked about you being a YouTuber, but I want to talk about building a brand. You said you went from, being an in-person coach to now building an online, coaching platform, and now obviously an online brand. And so what do you think the biggest shift for you, in person to online is like, okay, I can see that, like that's the major difference, like in person versus online. And, maybe you're coaching on Zoom or whatever. I'm not talking about the tactics. I'm talking about your mindset from going in person to a brand, little to big. What was, one of the big things that unlocked for you?
Yeah. So here's me bringing up number 4, that vision setting thing, right? Let's get beyond that, right? So like that was the starting point thing. When I did that vision, actually, I'm going to come back to that for a second. When I did that vision thing, just to put some scale to this, I'm making 80, 90 grand a year. I've got maybe a couple $1,000s to my name for the first time ever in my life. Never had more than $1,000 pre-age 27. I wrote down my dream life, Chaz. I did the math on like what it would cost. And I said, hey, I was 27. I said, hey, it'd be really cool to build this dream life where I want complete financial freedom to live my dream life by 40. I was like, I kind of give myself 10 years to do this dream life thing. And so when I did the math on that, I needed to start making 1.2 million a year to be able to like pay taxes, save enough money, invest, and get to, ultimately for me, my number was get 4 million invested, which would kick me $20,000 a month type of thing, which paid for my dream life, which I also thought was interesting when I did that practice. It was only 20 grand a month. Like everything I kind of wanted, I was down in Florida that I have here, place in PA, car, this, and I was like 20 grand a month. It's not like $1 million a month, like that's pretty doable. So that was kind of interesting. The number wasn't as big as I thought. So my mindset of going from, I'm currently making 80 to 90, coaching in person a lot, feeling burnt out, not sure what I want to do, to I'm going to make 1.2 million a year. Again, that might as well have been $1 billion. Yeah. Then I started to it started to seep in of like, okay, let's kind of get beyond that. Let's just say it were possible to make that amount of money. How would I do that? And so I love what Jim and Tony talk about modeling success, right? I use that a ton, right? So like, what did someone else do in the space that makes 1.2 million a year who does online coaching stuff? Like, is there anyone in the world who does that? Of course, right? There's many people who do that. And I'm like, are there any golf coaches who do that? Like my industry specific? And there were a handful of guys, who could make that a mess. Okay, what do? They do these in-person events, right? They do this sort of stuff. And just, these are the skills. This is how they sort of walk and talk and act. And this is where they hang out. This is where they go, and just try and model those things. And so I shifted immediately from like, hey, doing this one-on-one in person to say, the only way I could possibly make 1.2 million is for me to have an online membership site and to do in-person events like golf schools. That's the only way the math would work. And so that's where the YouTube thing came from, where I'm like, okay, well, if I want to do an online membership site, how am I going to get people to sign up? At this time, I'm listening to a lot of Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk type guys. Or Grant Cardone, I read all his stuff and was like, get attention, get attention, get attention. And so we started doing these online videos, YouTube videos, 3 a week, every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for 8 years. I would promote this CogornoGolf.com site in every video. That's a big thing I see people don't do enough, not actually promoting their products and stuff in their videos. Big problem. Yeah. So I would promote that in every single video, try and get people to sign up. And it was a slow and steady thing. To your point before, I was thinking like, okay, how do I make like 100 grand a month from this? And then what's the market rate? I'm like, all right, I kind of $50 a month, So I need to get 2,000 people to sign up at $50 a month. And the amount of times that I said that to myself and wrote that down and visualized that is like unbelievable. And now ultimately we got to the point where we got to like 1,500, and then we changed our price point. Like you said before, we got there different ways. So that I bring up again, man, because I just think looking back on my experience, everything is secondary to that happening for me that shifted everything. From there, like building things online, obviously you start to get a little bit of traction. Like we made 80 grand a year in person. Year one online, we made 0. So still 80. And then we doubled every year for a while. Went from like 175, 350, 700 to the point where we got to like 1.5. And the thing that went from like kind of that 175, 500 to 1.5 was I read a book called Who Not How by Dr. Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan, that like I reread that twice a year just to remind myself of like, don't fucking do everything yourself, dude. Got a team of people, And so I started to slowly build a team of people. We've got a very high profit margin online coaching business that has given a lot of freedom. So like how my life specifically changed was I went from, hey, my schedule's pre-booked with one-on-one coaching Monday through Saturday every week, to like, I can kind of do what I want when I want. If I want to coach, I can. If I don't want to, I don't have to. I can coach who I want at the price point I want. So I think the freedom and flexibility that those things have brought has been the biggest personal, game changer.
Yeah, I love that. Inside of the brand and some of the things you kind of just shared, you were pretty obvious or pretty vulnerable about like, we just started making videos. I knew I was going to need them, but you slipped in there. We did it 3 days a week, same time for 8 years. Did I hear you correctly on that?
Yeah, that's right. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, for 8 years. And so you do the math on that, right? But early on, year one, you made no money. You were still making videos, and you probably looked and felt like a goofball.
Oh, yeah.
Would be my guess. But you still kept doing it. And then eventually you kind of morphed into this expert, and you've probably always looked like this expert. Now, what would you say to the guy that knows he probably should get on YouTube, or the gal that knows that she needs to be making content, but they feel that icky, that like, I don't know, but am I going to be perceived as an expert? Am I not? Like that imposter syndrome that we all go through a little bit. How did you fight through that?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. I think there are a couple of things there. Certainly, I felt that in the beginning. We started 2016, 2017. So even like my friends and people at the course make fun of me, like, oh, you're doing these YouTube videos, dude. Like, oh, so you gotta like get through all that stuff. The same way, like when I go out to eat and I eat clean and work out good, people make fun of me. It's the same thing. Anytime you want to level up, that's inevitable. But yeah, in the beginning, man, that was hard. And then I think, what I really like to frame it, and maybe I heard Alex Hormozy talk about this or someone else, but your first 100 videos certainly are like just pure practice, zero expectation, literally just build the habit of like, do a video, upload it, figure out what you want to talk about, figure out how to do all the stuff with the videos. So the first 100 are just practice. I think that's nice going in that way, because then there's like no pressure on yourself. Right. Nobody's going to watch. You're just learning what you're doing. So the first 100, don't even worry about. After the first 100, I'd start to get a little bit pickier. Like, okay, hey, I want to get some results here. My expectations would change. And I think the strategy there is every set of videos we would do. So let's say we did 3 a week, right? Every 3 videos, we'd look at them and we'd be like, okay, hey, what's one thing that we can make a little better next week, next set 3? Maybe the lighting's a little better, the title, the thumbnail, whatever. You spend a little bit of time researching that. And then how do you research it? You model success, right? You don't copy, but you model. Like, who in your space is having success at the online stuff? What do they do? What do they talk about? Titles, thumbnails, length of video, how do they intro? How do they close? What kind of guests do they have on? So that's what we did. Not copy, but model and put your own twist on stuff. And it was just a continuation of that same thing over and over and over. Back to the first 100. Like you get, you can go on Eric Cogorno Golf and go back to oldest videos. They're still on there. My first couple of videos, they're brutal, right? I'm looking in the camera like this. Hey guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about out of the brutal, right? But you need to do the first video to do the second. You got to do the second to do the third, right? And so you get better as you go. I think inherently someone who does like what we do and who's used to speaking has an advantage because you've got some communication. Like I was communicating one-on-one with a student all day, every day for like 7 years before we did our first video. Sure. There's a little bit of an advantage there. But how you get good on camera is by being on camera. How you get good speaking on stage by being on stage. You can only prep so much. So you've got to do the videos. I also would say, what I would say to someone, first 100 are practice. You got to get good by doing it. And then the last thing I would say there is like, the risk is extremely low if you actually think about it. The only risk of doing the online stuff and it not working is your time and energy. Potentially some money a little bit, but it's really just time and energy. Like worst case scenario, you do the videos, no one watches and you still are where you are.
Right.
That's the worst thing that could happen. The best thing that could happen is they work. You build this perceived expertise, like you mentioned. Interesting that I learned through doing the social media that a lot of our business didn't come from, it came from perceived expertise. Like that word perceived is important to be in there. People who would fly in for coaching or come and whatever, they never actually saw me coach. They saw me speak and they would perceive that I know what I'm talking about via those videos. Yeah. And you want to build that perceived expertise through doing the videos. And if you don't do it that way, it's hard to do. Like, how are people going to know who you are outside of your local area to send you money in business without doing this? So the potential return is extremely high. The risk is extremely low. And you got to just get good by doing them. But you have to look at, and this is me too, and you can look at our channel, keep me honest, and look through the improvements. It's like, you got to look at every set compared to the last and make a little improvement. And you do that over and over and over. And after a year, you're like, gosh darn, like these getting pretty good. Like a lot of things improved. And so that's kind of how I would frame it. And that would be like a little strategy stuff there.
Hey, Kings and Queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other grow.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate your perspective. I think that the listener has already gotten a crap ton of value, but the position of, in order to do the second video, you have to do the first. In order to do the third, you have to do the second. I thought that was probably one of the most powerful things you just said. And that goes for all parts of life. That goes for business, of course, but we just did our marriage mastermind in Colorado a couple weekends ago, and had several families there, several couples there. And we went deep, 4 days. Like, it was not for the newbie. These were people who wanted to go to not just the next level, but maybe next 2, 3, 5 levels in their marriage. And I think the same thing. Like, you can't go to the next level without taking the action. You can't take the action without having the intention. It's all the first video leads to the second. Everything that you were just saying is so important. What do you think for you, building a business and obviously growing that to that level, it takes work, and you've got a team now, and you're reminding yourself to delegate. But at the same time, I know family's a big deal to you. Family's a big deal to us. It's one of our core values, if you want to say it like that. And so this balance that we both know doesn't exist actually, but how do you do it? How do you do the family and the business thing well, especially since you're this influencer, you're talking to so many people, you're still coaching, all these things that are pulling on your attention and your time. How do you keep the family important?
Yeah, a couple of things come to mind there, man. I think the first thing is being ruthless with the schedule. So when I look up in front of me here, I've got my schedule for the next 90 days. And there's not much that's going to change on that. So, lots of saying no to stuff, keeping really top of mind, saying yes to the things that are important for me, and trying to be really efficient with my time on those. So time blocking the things that move the needle for our business. We've got YouTube filming, I've got coaching. There's certain things that are going to be in there, and not letting a lot of room in there. I think that's a big one. The other thing that comes to mind is for me, things ebb and flow. So throughout the course of, perhaps let's say a year or a quarter, I might have a period of time that's heavy work where there's less in the other categories. Yeah. But then I'll also have heavy other, family, friends, free time. That's not heavy work. So I would allow a natural flow to it where I think things go in seasons and times change. And there's certain times where I'm willing to put extra time into the work stuff and work on a project. And then there's less time for the other things. But then I'll even that out, with other times of year where it's the opposite. And so, the schedule, I think if someone struggles with that and you look at their schedule, that becomes clear to me right away. Let's see your next 90 days. They're oh, well, I don't really, well, there we go. Right. There's problem number one. We got to block out the stuff that's important. Family as well. I block out my free time just as much as I block out the work time. It's in there, so there's no wiggle room. So I think from a strategy tactic thing, that's hard to not get right if you do the scheduling well. And then I think allowing yourself some freedom and not judging yourself or being too critical on yourself, knowing that things will probably ebb and flow. I love, dude, 2 + 2 = 4. Let me get this under control. This is exactly what's going to happen. But we both know things that you got to be able to adapt. And so not being so hard on yourself if it's not, in balance all the time.
Yeah, I spoke recently at an event, and I was talking about the calendar, almost the exact same thing that you just said. I was how many people operate on a calendar? Okay, hands go up. And how many people don't operate on a calendar? The hands go up. And I was I appreciate you being honest and vulnerable, but I have to look you in the eyes. However many hundreds of people were there, I have to literally look you in the eyes and tell you, I don't even know if I can trust you because you don't value your time. The most important thing that you have, you don't own it. For those of you that have the calendar, do you put family time on there? Okay, why not? So everything you just said, it's just so incredibly simple, but if what's easy not to do or easy to do is easy not to do. Okay, I had so same concept here, family business, but I want to shift mindset here a little bit. I had a recent testimonial from one of our members. He's been with us for several years, and he said, GTK, but him himself included, that this is how he operates. We don't believe it's 50% family, 50% business. It's 100% family, 100% business, 100% health, 100% lifestyle. Like, I'm all in. I'm obsessed. How does that play out in your world?
Oh, same, dude. Yeah. It's 100% or nothing for me in all categories. I'm 100% into my health, longevity, wellness, personally, selfishly. And I think, that's something too, like that sits top of board for me. Like, I know when I'm at my best across the board, I'm able to show up better for family and friends. I'm able to show up better for work, for the people that I'm trying to serve, clients, etc. And so I'm not shy about being selfish about that. That would include like sleeping, working out, food, nutrition, etc. Yeah, 100% across the board. I don't really, even when I mentioned before, where things might ebb and flow and the actual time amounts could change, the priority or intensity in each category never changes. Like, I'm never, ever, ever, no matter what's going on, going to not sleep well. I'm not a guy that's like, hey, I'm willing to do X, Y, Z and I'll sleep for it. Nope. Like, my priority is me first, health first, longevity, right? Because I'm also not here just to win this month. Like, I want to live to be 100 and feel great and perform great for a long time. This is what I mean about, for me, dude, I'm like a long-term guy, And so everything for me stacks into that. And I think if you want to be great long-term and be the best you can be and feel the best you can be, it's got to be 100% across the board. Yeah. But 100% across the board doesn't need to be the most difficult thing in the world if you stack the right habits. Like, right. It's not hard for me to go to sleep for 8 hours, for example, because I built the habit of going to sleep at 9:30 and waking up at 5:30, right? Like, I built the pre-bedtime routine. Like, there's things you can stack in all these categories where it doesn't need to be too much to be able to be great at all of them at the same time. And I also think, dude, if you different way to say the same thing is like, you can be really good in all those categories at quote unquote 100% without sacrificing in another category. That's right.
And most people believe that, though. Right? What's the gap that you understand that they don't? Why is it so easy for you to say, well, being 100% or obsessed over here doesn't take away from being obsessed over here? I know it's habits, from a high level, but what do you know that they don't? What does your belief know that you don't, or that they don't?
Yeah. I think for me, like, I've seen the proof in me being able to do it. So, like, the proof in my own life of like, hey, I've seen me be able to do all these things successfully. And I also, the modeling success, like, when I'm ready to do something, will spend a lot of time looking at people who've gone before me who are really good at it and see them do it. And so I've seen lots of different, I've seen people, people that I look up to, who I admire, who are where I want to go. And I see like, wow, like, man, they have a great marriage. They've got 3 kids and spend a lot of time with their kids. And like, their faith is really strong and they work out really good and their business is crushing. I'm like, man, so they're doing all of it, right? If they can do it, I can do it. And then it's not just one person. It's like, oh, this guy can do that too. This lady can do that too. And so I think I see the evidence in like my models. And then once I start to see it in my own life a little bit, it's hard to argue with yourself, when you've seen yourself do something before. Like, I don't allow myself to negotiate with myself. Like, once I'm doing this thing, like, I've seen someone can do it. It is possible. I'm heading north, right? No matter what happens. And then it's non-negotiable. Like, cause I'll have moments where I'm like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, or this is hard, or this is whatever. And it's like, nope. Hey, clear example. This is the direction we're going. We're moving that way. And that was something that I think, man, got built over time. And I just bring it back to the same thing of like, I'm really clear on where I want to be in 10, 20, 50, 70, years. And there's just, there's no reason to get off path from there. Like that's moving in this direction. That's the direction we're going.
Yeah. I love that. What would you say if you had to, summarize all of your successes into one sentence or one thing, one accomplishment, one accolade, if you will, what would that be?
So like some words that I would come up with would be like, how we got like consistency. If I came up with like words as to what got us there, it'd be like consistency and clarity, clarity and consistency for sure. The thing that I'm most proud of that we've done is making what we talked about 8 years ago become a reality today. I'm just a kid from a small town in Pennsylvania that grew up with no money, and like to be able to live how I live now is unbelievable, and like it's been certainly it gets me emotional talking about it. There's like been a lot of work to get there, but like I'm very proud of that. And it doesn't even have to do like I think we could, like I'm looking now, like how can we 10x things and kind of reset things at another level? Yeah. So it doesn't have to do with the level where we got to. It's just like, man, setting a vision to get somewhere and actually getting there has been amazing. So that's I think the thing that I'm most proud of. Along the lines, I've got a lot of things that I love to discuss that I think we got good at, of like building a coaching business online, growing a YouTube channel, building an online brand, like all those micro things. But I think if I zoom out to a macro level, that's the answer to that.
Yeah. It's interesting. You talk about, building your channel and building this audience. Something that I've kind of picked up from our research, it was that a little bit that, not that nobody else does this, but at to your level, it looks like you engage with your audience in a little unique way. You want to talk about this?
Yeah. Which way? Which way are you talking about? I got a couple of things there.
Yeah, well, I've just got, down here, a lot of your success and growth, specifically with your audience, has come from the capacity to engage. And so, So I think you do it a couple different ways.
Yeah, man. So at a very basic level, when I first started doing YouTube and I'd look and see people in model success, one thing I did a lot of, because I heard Gary Vee talk about it, was like really reading through the comments. And so I used to watch these guys in the golf space when we're first starting, and I'm like watching the videos and I'd read through the comments, and I noticed two things. One thing that was obvious to me was that I got so much good intel from the comments in the videos. You think about these big companies pay all this money to like survey people and get them like, what do you think about this? On YouTube and social media, we get all that for free. The people who are watching are telling you exactly what they think in the comments, what they liked about it, what they didn't like. Hey, do this video next time. Oh man, if you could do this, it'd be really great. So I think engaging with the audience from that perspective started for me there, which was like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. The other thing I noticed is a lot of these big, YouTubers I was watching then, specifically YouTube, they weren't like replying to any comments. And I thought that was kind of interesting. I saw like one guy who would reply to every single comment. He had like 400,000 subscribers at the time. And I was like, wow, like that's pretty cool. And the people in the comments, this is like 2017, right? So like, He was big for a while. And people were like amazed that he like spent time interacting with them.
Right.
And so I think when I first started and did that research, man, I was just like, oh God, there's so much gold in this. And then so many of these people miss the opportunity to be engaged with the audience from a comments perspective. I think that's one half of the answer. The other part is like when I'm doing the videos, in the beginning parts of doing videos, and I think a lot of us do this, you're looking into a camera, there's nothing on the other side. You're just staring into the abyss, right? And you're like talking about something. And it's very easy to get caught up in how you look. Am I sounding right? Oh, does this look good? Or so on and so forth. And once I really when I look at a camera, I'm always literally in my mind imagining the person I'm talking to is right behind there. So for me, it's been like this golfer. I've got this image of this golfer. It's like a 55-year-old guy. He's got some discretionary income. Like he wants to play golf well. And I'm literally speaking to him through the camera. And I think that comes across as well. Like I think I'm trying to engage and speak to a person versus me thinking about how I look and so on and so forth. And that has helped me a ton in the content, man, is like really trying to focus as in business, like on the value and helping the person on the other side. So two different answers there, but I think both of those sort of equally important.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving both perspectives. I was going to ask you if Gary Vee was a little bit of an inspiration on the comments and the engaging that way. Oh yeah, you're right. There are a lot of I've worked for some big names that kind of almost like just never, ever. And then so what fills up in the comments are all the spam bots.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so then we don't even go there. The audience doesn't even go there anymore. And it's just missing this huge opportunity. Oh. I think that from my perspective, looking in on a guy like you, who's describing this process and we do the same, but we don't have an audience quite like yours. It's authenticity. It's you just being you. It's you being the kid from Pennsylvania who had no, everything that you said you were, that's you being you. And I used to train this in sales training when I was training sales reps and entrepreneurs in sales years ago. But, if we were to meet or walk across, in the hallway, some people will say, hey, how are you? And then never even wait to hear if the person responds. It's hello to them. You've experienced this, I assume, right? We're like, hey, how are you, Eric? And then I've tested this. I've not answered. And they just keep walking. Because they didn't actually want to know, right? And so that's the wrong question. You're asking a question out of integrity. It's out of the current integrity that you hold. You don't actually want to know the answer to that. So you should just say hello. And so the same thing with answering a phone. Like hey, Eric, how we doing today? Well, you should only say that as a sales guy if that's something you would naturally say, because it's you. It's genuinely you. Because you actually want to know. And so when they say, I'm okay, you say, well, great. It's the day before Thanksgiving. What's going on in your world? Like, if that's you, be curious. If not, then don't worry about it. Move on. And so that's what I hear when you say these strategies that you're it's just so easy for you. It comes out because it's super authentic. And this is just who you are. And so I want the listener to pick that up. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
Yeah, that's so good. Hey, I appreciate you saying that. And that's so good, man. I think that's one of the things with the content where a lot of people miss. And it's a fine line, because like when we put stuff out, you want to put stuff out and not get bogged down by like people saying negative stuff. But at the same time, we're trying to put videos out. Like I'm trying to put videos out that genuinely help someone who's watching. That is priority number one. Yeah. Getting good views, et cetera, whatever is like a secondary thing to me. And so like, I want to read comments to see where we could get better or where it did help someone or where it didn't. Of course, some people are going to be goofy and say stuff, but there's that fine line of like, I don't think just putting out content and then just, okay, on to the next video, like no feedback from the audience. No, that to me, from my opinion and perspective, isn't how I want to play it. It's like, I want to know that the things we're doing are helping or not, so we can make different style of content. One little thing with that too, while I'm thinking of it, one of the things that really changed the game for us in terms of more views and growing our social media, we started doing videos for the first year that were videos that I wanted to do, that I thought were good. I was like so gung ho on we should do this style of video. And then as soon as I realized we needed to do videos that the audience wanted, things went skyrocketed for us. Same thing in business. It's like you sell a product that fills a need that people want to buy, not necessarily what you want to do. And so that's just a little nugget too that really helped me a lot. That might help someone.
Yeah, no, it's the exact reason why Gathering the Kings talks a lot about family now, because when I started, I've done, I don't know, we're probably close to 500, maybe a little over 500 episodes with you right now. And every single one of them, I didn't know this, but I was asking a similar question. Hey, how are you doing this balance thing? And we've done this now for years. I've asked it in different ways. But without a shadow of a doubt, even guys like you that have the time, the calendar figured out, and that you're crushing it, there's still a humble approach to, but I know I could get better,
Yeah.
Specifically around the family stuff, because as entrepreneurs, we know that we're obsessed. We have an obsessive nature. We want to win. And so when we go all in, it's easy for us to shut out the rest, which oftentimes includes the health, the family, the faith, all the other things that you mentioned. And so when you can do both, even if you're not doing it well, I've recognized that I have hundreds of episodes, even the guys that are doing well, I know they're doing well, they still go, yeah, but I could do it better. Or I'm not going to sacrifice my sleep. Like I know my boundaries. I'm on it, And so it's just listening, that comes up, and then you have people responding going, man, actually, I need to know how he does that. How does he do the balance thing? I was like, well, first off, balance doesn't exist,
Right. Yeah.
But listening to the audience, I think is a huge point there. Anything else just from a building of the audience? You've done this. I know you've done whole shows on it, but anything else you'd leave with our audience today of just something else that could help them in their journey of building their own audience?
Yeah. Building the audience real quick. Just to add on what you said there. Love that, man. Ed Milet says, I think being blissfully dissatisfied was the term that he used, which I think is a beautiful way to say it. And I struggle with everything you just mentioned. I feel super dialed in, but I still feel like I can do better, which I think is good for us. We should. One of the things that I've learned from that, just tactically in the balance and time thing, is really trying to be, where your feet are. And when I'm with family and doing stuff, I'm with family. And this is cliche, but it's true. You're there. When I'm doing work stuff, I'm doing work stuff. So when I'm with family or I'm hanging out with friends or something, I don't have my phone on me. I'm not answering emails. I'm not checking my Instagram. And then when I'm working, I'm working. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not doing. So I think that's not easy to do. It's not easy for me even now. And I feel like I've got that pretty dialed in. But again, I think the more you can remove the distractions of other parts of your life and be where you are. And for me, I'm not always good at that. We just launched a big product, that was very important to me. I'm a big offering. And I was thinking about it 24/7, like when I'm doing family stuff at that point. And that's going to happen. So anyway, I thought Blissfully Dissatisfied was like kind of a nice little thing there. Okay. Building the audience, right? Building the brand and the online stuff. So a couple of the quick basic things we talked about, which is like, obviously you've got to post consistently for a long period of time. That goes without saying. If you're not sure on what direction to go, there's two things I'd always look for, which is modeling success. There's always little proof along the way of what people have, not only what they're doing now, but what they did to get there. Oftentimes is almost even more important. There's little crumbs, that you can find along the way. Doing the sort of content that your audience have proven that they want, which is proven by the fact that they watch other people doing that thing, not necessarily the thing you're doing, right? And so I learned that the hard way. I think those are big ones. That'd be like number 2. Number 3, I'd say, is really, really trying to make sure you actually do what I said, which is like make every set better than the previous one in any little way possible. Like any little thing you can do to make it a little bit better. That would be the third thing. And then the fourth thing, I think, and this is something that I learn as we go too, there's a ratio of like, I'd be interested in your take on this, even just in business. Hey, this thing's working. I'm going to keep doing this thing. And then there's a percentage that's like, what else could we do? Or like, what's a different style and whatever. I found we're kind of in an 80-20 range. We do 80% of what's working. And then we spend about 20% like trying to test new formats and things. I find as time goes on and things get faster, the ability to pivot or adjust the style of content happens quicker, meaning like I can't just keep doing the same things for as long maybe as I could earlier. And when I say that, I'm talking little things, not wholesale changes necessarily. But the ability to see and watch what's going on. Like I'm always paying attention, especially in my little niche of like golf. Like, okay, these guys are doing these videos. That's working. Oh man, they dipped. Like, well, why did that happen? Like, why are people watching this more than this? So that's always in my mind. I'm always looking at it. Like we film every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 8 years, pretty much without fail. So every Sunday, I spend 3 or 4 hours prepping for that and looking around and what's going on and this, that, and the next thing. And so like the constant practice as we go. I heard John Maxwell say one time, this really hit me too. It was a video he did about communication. He said, when you do a speech, if it's not going to be the best speech you've ever done on that topic, you might as well not give it. And for a guy who does a lot of YouTube videos, I take that as like, hey, if I'm going to do this new video on this thing, it better be the best one we've ever done, or you might as well not even do it. So that hit me pretty hard, which I think is true. And so I really try and make sure when we do the next video, like it's the best one we've ever done, and spend as much time as we need to make sure that happens. So hopefully that's maybe 4 or 5 little tactical things there.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think you're right. Content's changing crazy fast. Podcasts, content, YouTube. Although macro, I don't think YouTube's going anywhere. I think YouTube's probably going to be around for a long, long time, and you've probably made a very good investment with your time by making YouTube videos. The tube has been around for a long, long time already, and that the perceived authority that we were talking about just earlier in the show. That's how you used to be able to get it. You go on TV, because if you had a TV commercial, wow, just they didn't even know what to say. Like, wow, that's. You could be a local furniture guy. You could be, Coca-Cola. It doesn't matter. If you're on TV, wow. And that's basically what YouTube is today. And so to tie all that in a bow for the audience, make YouTube videos.
That's right.
How it goes. I appreciate you being here, Eric. You've just got a unique spirit, actually, if I can say that. You've got just a humble approach. You've got some really tactical things you've given to the audience. I hope that they go back and take some notes if they didn't already. The value that you've given here today, not even around the golf, but around building an incredible business. I'm sure all your tactics around golf are incredible as well. But bro, I appreciate you being here, man. Thanks for adding value to the audience here today.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, man. Love your stuff. I watched a lot of it pre me coming on here. Love that. Love your energy as well. Really appreciate you saying that and really enjoyed the time, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Driven to Win. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more
to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.